All right, everyone, welcome back to Nazareth, the Catholic Parenting Podcast created by the Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens Catholic Schools. This week, I have a very, very special guest. Lucero, welcome to Nazareth. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, for those of you who don't know, which would be all of you, or most of you, Lucero and I not only both get to work for the diocese, but we get to be friends in real life too, which is just like the best combination. And I'm so excited to have her here. So thank you so much for joining us. I want to make sure that our listeners kind of get to hear a little bit about your story and, hear more about what you do. Lucero is the Associate Director of Youth and Young Adult Ministry here at the Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens. So that's a lot of words. It's a lot of important work. Can you kind of break it down for people who are not as familiar with what all of that means? What exactly are you doing day to day?
Yes, absolutely. So day-to-day looks a little bit different, but essentially you take a look back at the bigger picture. You zoom out a little bit. So if you break it up between youth and young adult ministry, we plan a lot of youth events, both youth and young adult monthly events, to try and schedule that diocesan unity between Brooklyn and Queens, because we know it's a big area. So for example, for youth, we plan a monthly youth holy hour at different deaneries, so that deanery is able to gather and they're able to have not just only have their youth group, but also gather in prayer for their youth that are present and for all the youth in the diocese, essentially. And then same with the adult holy hour. It's every third Friday of the month at the San Damiano mission. We have different speakers that come in, and we have the Shalom community there that we work with very closely. And they also, prepare the praise and worship, prepare all of that. So it's a lot of planning that, as well as the different events that come up. So for example, Pope Leo just announced the Jubilee year of St. Francis. So, okay, how do we bring this into our youth? How do we walk with them? How do we invite them into this? So for example, in April, we'll have a walking tour from the Cathedral to St. Francis, St. Blaise, and just learn a little bit more, just enter into that St. Francis spirit of this year. On top of, okay, so we have these young adult groups. We have these youth groups that are meeting weekly, monthly, however often they meet. Who is serving them? These youth ministers. And how do we help them? They also get to be formed in their faith lives, in their ministry life what does it mean to be a youth minister? How do I run a youth night? How do I grow in my own personal faith life? Because a lot of the times we're the first face of Jesus for these kids. So also creating events and formation for these youth ministers that are present. So it's a combination of a lot of those three things throughout the week.
So it's a lot.
Yes.
And it's a lot of events, and you're meeting a ton of different people all the time, every day. And you are especially equipped for that because your background is as a focus missionary.
Yes.
Well, actually, before we jump into that, I do want to do like our high and low. Grace and Grapple, we start all of our episodes off with. It's essentially just a high and low, and anybody who's in the Bible study has done something like this.
Okay, grapple, I would say I was cleaning up my closet and just getting rid of some things and realizing that I actually have a lot to give away. For Lent, I'm trying to use what I have and not to do unnecessary spending, and kind of just going through the things that I don't use anymore and the things that I do use, and realizing that some of these things need to be bought. So just realizing that I need to be better about what I have and what I don't have was a little bit tough this week. And then grace, I would say my grace for this week has definitely been the five from the confirmation retreat. We just had a confirmation retreat last weekend where we gathered in Brooklyn in St. Patrick's with over 300 confirmation participants that will get the sacrament this upcoming spring, which is really beautiful. And then just being able to prepare for that along with another retreat that's coming up, and it just feels like it's retreat season, especially during Lent. So it's been really beautiful to be able to prepare that for the youth that we're working with, but also for my own self of like, okay, like where is this? Like, how is this talk impacting me? So that's been a grace where I'm able to enter into my prayer in a different way with that.
Oh, I love those. Yes, Lent is upon us. It is coming up. I'm definitely feeling that I would say my grapple is probably, I guess it hasn't officially started yet, but I'm thinking about the fact that tomorrow, my goal also for Lent, like I'm trying to I will be fasting from any like extra shopping, basically. No clothes.
Yes.
No random, like I just need this lip balm. I'm not going to be able to live without it. Like that is not necessary. And I definitely am someone who, like, house of event, I'm like, well, obviously I need a new outfit.
Yeah.
So, I'm grappling with that. So yeah, I'd say that's my grapple. My grace, honestly, I feel like my grace was this weekend having like some Valentine's Day, Galentine's fun with our little girls' night. It was so much fun. I feel like you can just never go wrong with The Notebook.
I would agree with that.
Like stands the test of time every time. So that was such a grace. That was so fun, and it's just like so relaxing to just be with the girls. So
absolutely,
yeah. Okay, so let's dive in to your story. We want to hear it all, whatever you want to share. Talk to us about how you first got into ministry. What was kind of your journey there, and how did that lead you to where you are now, working with young adults and helping them to know God more?
So it's definitely been a journey, and it started very similar to where I see actually a lot of our young adults or even our youth ministers, where I grew up in the Catholic faith. My parents were Catholic. My mom was that church lady that was always in the church, helping out, volunteering some way, shape, or form. And on Sunday, you knew that even though Mass ended at 11, 12, you weren't getting out of there for another hour. She was chit-chatting up with everybody. So my faith was very much something that we just did. I knew Sundays we went to Mass. And my mom did a very good job about introducing our faith to us. And especially in the cultural way, such as like for November, in the end of October, we celebrated Dia de los Muertos in Mexico before we moved. And she would introduce us the history of just, what is the Day of the Dead, but also All Souls Day, and what that meant to our faith. And then when you moved into Christmas time, we would go through the posadas, which is a tradition in Mexican culture where you pray the rosary, you usually post it at somebody's house, there's food, there's celebration. So these were all things that when I was young, I liked. You could say that was my first introduction to ministry. Once I got a little bit older, we moved to the States. I started volunteering as an altar server. Many of our people do that. Your parents kind of hate today, ask you if you want to do it, and you're kind of like, really? Maybe that's not your experience.
I did not like it. I did not like it at all.
Once I got to high school, I was like, I would very much like to not do this, but it was just what was asked of me, and I knew that it made these people happy, it made my parents happy. And very much, I was getting fed all of this faith formation, but definitely now blooming from it. It was almost as though all the seeds were being planted, but I didn't really feel like taking it in. The heart-to-head connection just wasn't there. And when I got to high school, very much was in that same mentality. It was like, I love the mission trips for the social aspect of it. And it was cool because I felt good after helping other people out. And I knew that living this double life, it helped me make sure that, okay, the people here think that I'm this girl that like volunteers at school and like volunteers at my church and does all these things. My friends know that I may be not doing all those things at all times. And it was hard because I didn't realize how much it was affecting me until I got to college, and I decided internally, even if it wasn't voiced out loud, there was a life being offered to me that I've always wanted. A life that I thought gave me freedom, where it was, okay, do I really need my faith? And if it's not, like, can I just put it in the back burner for now and take this that's being offered to me? Because I've only ever had this and I don't really know what it is, and I don't really know what it means to me or why I have it. Like, okay, if you ask me why I'm Catholic, it's like, it's because I am. Like, my parents brought me up that way. That's all I've ever known. Like, why would I be anything else? And going into college that way, it's not really a big culture around here where you move away from your family. And it wasn't a culture that my parents had ever seen because they also stayed at home when they went to college. So I felt very free. I felt like I wasn't being watched. I felt like nobody was looking over my shoulder. I wanted to do what was fun, what my friends thought was fun. And it was fun for a while. And I would go to the Newman Center. I had my faith at this point. I would go and I would attend. But it was truthfully because my sister also went to school there. And if I didn't go, it's like, I can't have my parents knowing. Like, this is the one thing I got to do to keep them off my back. And you couldn't really deny that there were seeds planted there from the past. So there was always something inside of me like, okay, regardless, like I don't know why I believe in God, but I do. And I would still live about my life the way that I did because it's like, okay, I believe, but it still wasn't enough, I guess, in my head. And it wasn't until I was at a very low bottom or rock bottom, where at least at that point, as a 19-year-old, it felt like rock bottom where you really don't realize who's there for you because you've now hit a point where you can't really share with anybody what's going on. Where it's like, okay, I'm experiencing this pain that nobody really knows. Where it's like, oh, I'm changing my major. I'm going through this breakup from this relationship. My friend group is changing. Like, I don't really know where I stand in life. And it's just, okay, like all this pain and all this confusion that I felt like nobody else understood. And came to my faith in a very much what felt like an invitation from Jesus, where it's like, actually I do. And I understand where you're coming from, and I understand what you're feeling, and this is where I want to meet you. Will you walk with me? And even in that, I was still very stubborn, where I was like, it's okay. And respectfully, it was a lot through truth, beauty, and goodness, the transcendentals, and it was specifically through beauty. It felt like there was a veil taken off my eyes, and it wasn't this big moment like you see in movies, or like how Saul went to Paul and lightning struck and like he couldn't see anymore. It was like suddenly was a deeper understanding of my heart. My heart just started softening, and that veil was removed from my heart, my soul, my eyes. Where it's like, oh, this is what my faith is. This is what we stand for. This is what we believe in. And I even remember going to adoration for the first time. I'd been going for a couple of days, and then one day it was just like, oh, that's you in the Eucharist. And coming back to college, this was during COVID. I had a summer and just this time of formation in this last semester of like, okay, no, how do I enter into this? Like, if this is real, what does that mean for my life? Do I have to change? Not necessarily. It's like, but I want to, because now I have this knowledge and now I can't just walk away from it anymore. So through that, went back to Newman Center, met the Focus missionaries. They had come to my college campus in my Newman Center. I respectfully, truthfully, was not a fan. It was a stranger coming into, even though I wasn't really involved in the Newman Center, I was there. And I knew the people, I knew the priest. Shout out to Father John, now he's my dad. I was like, why are you coming in here? Like, who are you? But seeing them revive the Newman Center, seeing them seek us out in friendship, seeing them seek me out in friendship and not give up on me at any point, even though I very much was harsh, gave me hope. And that also softened my heart to like see what they were doing. So when it came to the end of my last year at college, I very much was just trying, okay, what do I do? And the option of becoming a Focus missionary or Catholic missionary came on the table, and I pushed it off the table for as long as I could, but it kept coming up. Applied, discerned, went through the whole process, and through, just a lot of prayer and discernment, became a Focus missionary for the last 4 years. So I served 2 years. So for those of you who don't know, Focus sends out college missionaries. Usually these are recent college graduates, and they are sent to different college campuses throughout the United States, where they usually work with some form of campus ministry to help and aid in not only what they already have, but to also continue to deepen that. Okay, where am I in my faith life, and also where's my missionary discipleship spirit? Because part of it was, okay, they've done it for me, can I do it for others? And I got to serve 2 years at Temple University in Philadelphia, and then came over to Queens College in Flushing. And after those few years, I very much wanted ministry in my life. I knew that I couldn't live without it. Serving the church, serving God in this way has been really beautiful, even in the time where it's been hard. It hasn't, trust that the last 4 years as a missionary were not easy by any means. And even now, I love my job. I've loved what I've been doing for the last couple of months, and it hasn't been easy. But there's something to be said about the fact that I fell in love with the Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens. I love the people here, everybody that I've gotten to work with, but also the people that I've gotten to meet. We got to go to the Jubilee, and I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, but we got to go to the Jubilee in Rome this past summer, and I got to meet a bunch of the pilgrims from the different churches from Regina Pacis and Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Williamsburg, and Astoria, and just getting to meet the youth where it's like, you are who I want to do this for, and I know that I can't be there at all times, but I'm glad that there are people that want to do this for you, because you are the past, and the present, you are actually the now, and I want to be here with you now. So we're here, and we're chugging along, and it's a privilege and it's a pleasure, and I truthfully would not trade it for the world.
It is so beautiful to hear your story because, like, I feel like I've heard it in tiny bits and pieces, just anecdotally, but getting to, like, see the whole arc is so beautiful. And also just, like, I cannot think of anybody who is better suited for the role that you're in the diocese that you're in than you, truly. Like, you have a special gift for working with the youth of this diocese. But not only do you have a special gift, like, you genuinely deeply enjoy it, and it's fun for you, and it's so fun for me to watch, and I feel so privileged I'm just like, it's such a grace from God that we are surrounded by other young women that are working for the church, and I feel like we're experiencing in real life, like, among our friends, and I'm sure you see this especially from your time being in Focus, you almost are able to see the way that, like, each one of us has charisms that, like, God places so intentionally, and it's like it doesn't make sense until, like, you can kind of zoom out and be like, wait, like, of course Lucero's doing that. Like, that makes so much sense, and, like, she's made so alive by that. Not only does the ministry obviously serve all these young people that you are leading in retreat or helping to organize events for, but it also serves you. And it's also hard, but, like, it's all connected, and it's so beautiful to see. I just love watching it. It's such a gift to watch you do that. And you have had for really, I guess, almost like 5 years now, like, a front row seat to the experiences of young people in the church, and not in the church, just, like, in life, right? And walking alongside them. For our listeners who, a lot of them are Catholic parents who, you know, maybe their kids aren't teenagers yet, but they are thinking about that time and they're trying to prepare for that time. What have you kind of learned about where this generation of teenagers is in terms of spirituality, and, like, how can a Catholic parent be present to that right now?
I think one of the biggest things that I've seen within just the ministry that I've done, and also other parents that I've seen, is that most people really are just seeking to be understood. And a lot of the times, maybe your child, maybe the youth that you're working with doesn't have the words to explain what's going on internally. That's why it's also really important to provide them tools to be able to, okay, how do I put together what it is that I'm experiencing, and how do I share this? Because how do you explain anxiety? And sure, Inside Out has been great for things like that. Of, like, okay, now I'm able to explain it, like, have a little bit more of a dialogue with it. But I think there's definitely something to be said of a lot of the youth that I'm seeing, even in my own experience, we come from immigrant families where we don't have the capacity to explain what it is that we're experiencing, and a lot of the times we aren't even taught the patience to, okay, you know what, I'm going to take a step back, because the way that this child of mine, this youth of mine that I'm working with is acting isn't necessarily about me. It has nothing to do with something that I said. Maybe it did. I don't know. That's per my case. But it's also, where are they? Why are they acting out of anger? Why are they acting out of frustration? Is there something else going on inside? And how can I talk to them about it? As well as just, yeah, this is a very pivotal time for them. Their information, they want to be seen. They want to be known. They want to be loved. It's okay. They might be a little bit of nerd and they like anime, but you can enter into that with them in some way, shape, or form. And that's a cross you carry as a parent and as somebody that's working for them, where you have to you can get invested too in what they're teaching you. And a lot of times some of it is fun, some of it is ways that you can connect deeper with them and another kid that also feels the same way. But I think that's one of the biggest things, where it's just, okay, have you taken the time to understand where they're coming from and had that conversation with them? And even underneath that is, have you fostered the relationship to have those kinds of conversations with them? Or is it, okay, I just pick you up from school and I know that you go to Catholic school and I'm trusting that they're going to do what they need to do. And that's beautiful in a way, and that surrender. Are you checking in with them? That's your kid, that's your child. They're going to be taking in a lot from the world, and it's a lot of, okay, what's real and what's not. And it's a choosing of, this is what I've been taught, and this is what the world is telling me. Where do I go? So being able to even, okay, if they are going towards something that the world is teaching them, why? Why do they believe that? Where? And this is a conversation that I know I had to have with my parents myself, where it's, yeah, you can ask my parents. I was not an easy teenager. I very much fell for not what the world was offering me, but I wanted to see if there was something else out there. And the reality is, God is so good and so beautiful that He does give us free will to seek if there is another truth, for Him to welcome us back with open arms and respond with, no, it is I am truth. So just encouraging that.
So it sounds like something that you have really noticed throughout, like walking alongside essentially teenagers. I mean, college students, obviously, they're older than your, confirmation retreat students, but just really that, teenager, early 20s phase is like, just actually to be present with them is like number one, right?
Yes.
Which really, I think that goes for all people.
Yes.
Right? But there is something really special about when you are in a time of your life where you are figuring out, what is the truth? What's the truth about me? Who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing? Where do I want to go to school? All of these things, like, to have a parent or to have any adult in your life actually care about what the answer to those things is for you, instead of saying, like, well, you go to Catholic school, like, you are receiving the sacraments, it's going to be fine. I know that you are so good about investing in young people, and especially young women, in this way, by, like, you'll go to the coffee shop that you love. Like, if they have like this special coffee shop that's like super far away from you and it's gonna be a pain, but it's like their special latte, you will go there and take the like hour and a half it takes to get there. You're gonna go there, you're gonna sit down with them, you're gonna enter into that with them, because it seems small and it seems like, okay, like, why can't we just like meet in the middle instead of like taking a train to this random place? But like, that act of like, I care about what you care about, allows that young woman to open up to you and to say, okay, and I'm actually figuring out like how to live my faith in my daily life. Would you say, like, for parents who are wanting to understand their teenagers more emotionally, spiritually, is that a good place to start? Like, okay, I'll watch the animation with you. Like, I really got work I need to do, but like, I'm gonna watch it with you. Is that something you recommend? Do you have any other practicals that your time in ministry has kind of like nudged you towards?
I would say sacrifice is definitely one of the biggest ones that shows, because if you look at the 5 love languages, there's some sort of sacrifice in that, whether maybe your child is a what's the touch one? Sorry.
Oh, physical touch.
Maybe your child is a physical, his or her love language today is physical touch, and you are severely not physical touch, hugging them once or twice a day. There's something to be said about the cross that is carried with it, and it's not necessarily that it's heavy or that it's hard, but it is at times, and most of the time as a parent, as somebody that's ministering to these kids, you want to do it, you want to carry, you don't care about how heavy it is or how uncomfortable it is. Sometimes you just have to reorient your heart. So it's like, we know that you're sacrificing for your child. We know that you're already doing a lot for them, from the way that you work, the hours that you work, even when you drop them off at the school that they are attending, or even the way that you plan their ministry nights. There is a sacrifice there. That's not something that they see, and that's okay to explain to them as well. But also, they're kids. A lot of the times they're not going to notice that. So what's a way that they will notice that you are showing up for them? Whether it's, okay, you explain to them, mom and dad can't be there for every soccer game, but I am going to be there for this one. And even trying to show them, not in a way that's, okay, I'm showing you what I'm moving around for you to feel bad for what I'm doing, but I love you so much, and I know that this is important for you, and therefore it is important for me, and I will show you that. And I'm doing this out of love, with no expectation that something else will come after it. And I'm doing this just because you are you. Because that's what God the Father does to us. So that's what we're called to do. So I would say, yeah, it is entering to that uncomfortable. I'm saying anime because I know that I've seen that a lot with young kids, and it's not personally something that interests me, not something that I partake in willingly, but will do if somebody asks me. And just like how I've had it be done unto me, where it's like, okay, I love going to a specific workout class, and I invite my friends into it, and it's a sacrifice for them to come because it's not easy, and a lot of them don't necessarily like working out, but it's a time for us to be together, and we're not speaking, we're not talking, there's not this in-depth knowledge of each other, but it's oh, this is vulnerable, and we're together, and you're here with me, and I'm here with you, and that's all.
That's your anime. It's just, you just want to share it with people. No, I get it. And I don't know if you've experienced this. I'm sure you have, but like the realization that comes when it really has been the last year or two, where I feel like every single time I get on the phone with my mom, I say, thank you so much for doing this thing, whatever it is that I like have been recently thinking about. Like, thank you so much for the fact that you always took me to this class, or thank you so much actually for forcing me to go to mass on Sundays. I am now realizing these things that I took so for granted that were sacrifices when I was a teenager, that now I'm like, I am so glad that my parents made us sit down every night for dinner, when I was like so embarrassed that I had to tell my friends, like, sorry, I can't go. We have to do this like family dinner. Like, I don't know why. But like, I'm so grateful for it now, and it is that sacrifice. And so it is, of course, the balance of that kind of sacrifice that kids might not immediately notice, and then also the anime kind of sacrifice.
Yeah, there's definitely things that you enter into that you might not necessarily want to. I'm not asking you to enter into any activity that could hurt you or would be bad, but more in the sense of like, oh, I'm tired from work. It's been a long week. I don't want to do this. But there's a bigger part of me that does for you. So kind of just going back into that internally, and even just, why am I responding the way that I am? Because these are, like you said, these are sacrifices that they might not see now, but it forms them to be who they are now, where it's like, oh, now you as a young adult woman see the sacrifices that your mom made for you, your parents made for you, where it's like, it's so easy for me to do it for other people now, because that's what was installed in me. Where it's like, why not help other people know that so that they also can do it for others?
Yeah. And okay, speaking of the sacrifices that teenagers might not see until later on, how would you approach, just kind of from your experience in ministry, how would you approach like the teen that does not want to get out of bed to go to mass on Sundays? Because I had no option, and I'm so grateful I had no option. But I've also heard friends say, like, I had to make that choice for myself, and like my parents did let me make that choice. Like, what's your experience? What do you recommend?
I mean, a big aspect is usually the time. And we know what kids are doing at night. They're not going to sleep at 10, 11:30. So going to a 9 a.m. mass, it's already asking for a lot. There's a lot of things that you can work in with that where it's like, okay, what are the boundaries for phone? What are the boundaries that you as a parent have set and the expectations that you have set for the child or the youth that you're working with for their phone? Are they able to have it at night and just have zero boundaries and stay up as late, and then your expectation is for them to be awake enough to want to go do this? One, that's a little bit more physical, a little bit more, okay, where are the physical boundaries and what can we do to physically ensure that we're a little bit more present with it? If they're rested, a little bit more willing to go. If they ate before, a little bit more willing to go. So making sure that we're aware of those aspects is really good. On top of, do they know why you're going to mass? Do they know why you go to mass? Do they know why you're Catholic? Is this just a thing that they see you do every Sunday that they have grown to resent because you have forced them to go? Or is it an invitation that you have extended onto them because it's a beautiful thing that you've experienced and you want to share? Mm-hmm. So I think being able to give that explanation would help a lot. I'm not saying that from one day to the next, this teenager is going to be like, you know what? I love mass and I want to go every day and I will go every Sunday with my parents and I will even help out. That is not what I'm saying, but a little bit more of like, this is why we go to mass and this is beautiful. And again, kind of going back to those transcendentals, we are made so uniquely and so beautifully that we are drawn by different things. To me, it was through sacred art and beauty in that way. To somebody, it might be a little bit more truth in history to, okay, why is mass the way that it is? Why are we walking with candles and the crucifix? What's the incense for? What does that represent? Things like that where kids are curious. We've seen it. They like to ask the questions that why is the sky blue? And you're like, I don't know. And that's okay as a parent to not have the answers, but to be able to even walk with them in that way. It's like, you know what? I realize that we've been going to mass and you don't know why. And this is why we've been going. This is why I, me personally, go. And this is an invitation for you, or even, like you said, as an expectation. While I lived under my parents' roof, it was an expectation that I was going to be at Sunday Mass in that pew with my parents, whether I liked it or not. Frown on my face or not, hair done or not, I was going to be present. When it became my choice, I wanted to go, and I wanted to be there. Now I get to go home and I see my parents, and we go to Mass together, or we are with my family. But it's not something that was more and something that was easy. So
I love that. That's so good about the phone thing, because I mean, I think any adult can also agree with the fact that like you do kind of need to put your phone away.
Absolutely.
And to think that you can just let your child be tapping away on their phone before that too. Like if they need to wake up early, it's not going to be helpful.
Nope.
So it's important. This is kind of connected, but I'm just kind of curious from your perspective. Obviously, Sunday Mass is an essential. Are there any sort of like daily devotional practices that you have seen your students or teens that you're walking with really find a lot of comfort in or find a lot of fruit out of? And kind of like how you see parents or families incorporating those practices in a way that speaks to their teens?
So truthfully, the way that I've incorporated a lot of this into ministry has come from things that I got from my parents and then I got from my family.
Yeah.
Things that worked for me that I see a lot of times does have patterns work for other people. So a lot of the times with prayer can be very intimidating, where it's like, okay, we have I think the rosary is beautiful. I think a daily rosary, if you are at that place in your faith life to do so, is beautiful and an incredible tool, and Mary's walking with you in this. To even go back a couple more steps, there's a couple more prayers that are a little bit easier that you can incorporate if it's not something that you know how to do in your daily life, or even are aware of how to incorporate it. So going back to the phones, they can be very good. They can be very useful. For the last couple of years, I have a reminder on my phone every day at noon, no matter what area of the world I'm in, my alarm goes off, or my little reminder goes off at noon, and it reminds me to pray the Angelus. And it's a very small prayer. It's 3 responses, 3 calls and responses with a Hail Mary in between and a prayer at the end. It does not even take you a minute. It's in the middle of your day. You take a moment to pause. And I started doing it when my missionary asked me was it I could incorporate it, and this was something that I saw my dad do. No matter what my dad was doing at noon, I would see him pray that Angelus. And I did not like it. It got me a lot. I wanted his attention. I also didn't like the prayer. I didn't understand it. Where it's like Mary was a slave in the Spanish translation. It's Mary was a slave. Mary said yes to being a slave. And it's like, why would anybody want to be a slave? In the English translation, it's servant of God. And it's now where my faith is at. I understand it a little bit more, and it's beautiful. I love it. So little ways like that where it's like, okay, what are the prayers that can be easily incorporated, and even just like easy explainable, where it's like, oh, the Angelus talks about the conception of Jesus and Mary's yes and fiat and how important that was. Teaching them how to pray the rosary. Maybe you get together before Mass and you pray the rosary. I know that Lectio Divina is something that has also been really helpful, because a lot of the times you want to, okay, what's the next book that's going to help me understand this? Or what's the next thing that's going to help me understand God, the living word?
The Bible.
The Bible. I fear that it is the Bible.
Yep.
Will be the answer to that.
Yep.
And a lot of times the church has it laid out for you. You can go to the daily readings. You can go to that Sunday Mass and reflect on it in the week with your family. Where it's like, okay, this is going to be the gospel. You pause for a minute. What stood out for you? What words did you not understand? What's the context of what's happening? And how do I apply this now to my life? Because even though it was written so many years ago, part of why it's so beautiful is because it's living. Thousands of years later, it's still applicable. If you don't believe it, trust me, there's an interpretation for you, I promise. So you can just, the little things like that where you introduce faith and you introduce prayer as not something that's ominous, but prayer is a conversation between you and God. Here are 2 different tools of ways that you can speak to him, which one works for you, and if not, it's a blend. Maybe working in that where it's like, the way that you pray and talk to God is not the same way that me and him talk. I can promise you that. And with them as well. So yeah, being able to introduce those tools for them is something that's really helpful.
It's so important that you mentioned like teaching and kind of guiding as a parent through just how you're living. Like your dad praying the Angelus, even though it annoyed you, you took note of that. You remembered it, and then you kind of knew how to pray it, right? Like I remember just like the barrier for entry to the rosary for me was like I didn't know how to pray it.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I was a teenager, I was like, wait, okay, I can learn how to pray it. And learning the prayers and knowing them and seeing them modeled by parents, like removes that, I don't even know where to start, right? Because you see it being done and you hear it enough times that then you just like remember it. Like,
and there's, the reality of like, or the kids' brains are being molded at that point. My little brother was 6, 7, saying the Divine Mercy Chaplet, because that's what we would pray on a long car ride. It was the Divine Mercy Chaplet and the Rosary if it was long enough. If not, Rosary, and if it was short, Divine Mercy. So things like that where it's like, it becomes the norm. And if you as a parent, maybe you weren't taught, and now you're trying to start this journey of, okay, how do I pray and how do I incorporate this with my child? Invite them into it. There's nothing more vulnerable than being able to walk into that together and being able to use the tools that are there for you. If you're more of a YouTube person, trust me that my mom loves to do Rosary of the Day in Spanish with this litany. Or you go to Spotify and you look it up and you pop in your headphones and you walk to work and you pray that rosary and you start being able to learn it, and that repetition stays there. That's how I learned the creed. That's how I learned the Angelus and the rosary. And even in that, like also psychologically, kids love to mimic the people that they look up to. I saw that my dad knew every prayer and every litany to the rosary, and I wanted to learn it. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what I was saying, but I knew that I wanted to learn it because he was teaching me. And a lot of the times that influence is there. And regardless of your timely presence, the actual effort and the sacrifice that you show for them is what is ingrained in their hearts.
And it's so powerful for a kid, a teenager, to know prayers by heart. Obviously, we are made for all sorts of different kinds of prayer. There are so many different ways to pray, to talk to God, to worship. But I am so grateful that I don't remember a time where I didn't know Hail Mary, Our Father, Glory be, right? Because no matter what was going on in my life, from the time that I was honestly could talk, if I was scared of something, if I was worried about something, every single night before I went to sleep, I'm like, well, it's illegal to not pray my little prayers before I go to bed. I have to, right? And not even from a place of fear though, I joke illegal, but actually from a place of this is just what you do. I'm gonna pray this and I'm gonna fall asleep. And then that becomes such a solid foundation where then everything can grow from there, right?
Where even I see it now, it's okay, I was the same where it's I was taught to do my prayers before mass or before I went to bed. And if I was scared, even now, sometimes if I'm filling up my water bottle, every time I'm just praying in Hail Mary. Well, I did get this from my Lady of Lords, I will say, so this is a little bit further back or a little bit fast forward, but that's what I was taught. Maybe I didn't understand it, and I'm sure my mom explained it to me at some point, but that was a good foundation so that when I walked away and I came back, it's I already knew this. It's just choosing it for myself. And not because somebody else gave it to me. And it's a gift and it's an invitation. It's just for the first time. I'm okay, now I actually do want to keep it. And I'm just not doing it because, okay, thanks. I actually want this gift.
Yeah. And there is something to be said for if your child knows those prayers by heart, I don't know, the moments in my life where maybe I was not walking in the faith the way I should have. Trust that if I got freaked out by something, if I was in a situation I did not like, even now, if I'm on a train where there's this spooky character, Hail Mary, straight to Mary. And I cannot even imagine the level of detachment and difficulty there is as a mom or dad in having to just release your teenager to okay, they're gonna go hang out with their friends. I don't know what they're doing.
Here in New York City, where it's just it is a jungle of different people, where it's you are sending out into you're sending your child out into the world where you are praying and hoping that what you have taught them is enough. And you have zero control over what affects them and what you don't at the end of the day. And it's hard because even in that, there's an invitation for surrender and an invitation for prayer. Parents, I encourage you to look up Saint Monica if you don't know who she is. She was a mom to a very, very special saint. You can look up the story and you can see why. Her intercession helps a lot of parents out, my mom included. And just that, even that, a history of we actually have years long of the history of the church is so beautiful to the point where there are other people that struggled with this that you can seek to, not only for guidance and for help, but also for comfort, because you are not the first parent going through this. And as a child and a parent, trust me that a couple of years ago, my mom would have never guessed that I would be working for the Catholic Church, even have a heart for this. Like you said, I was oh yeah, my heart feels on fire whenever I do this. And even when I don't, there's a fire there. And that wasn't always the case. And even just to have that hope that we just closed off the Jubilee year of hope, but that hope isn't gone. And we see it a lot and we see it often. And how do I seek for it in little things? And okay, if I do the things in the way that if I teach my child to do the things the way that I'm doing it because I believe in them, I can have the hope that those seeds were planted there and they will bloom, specifically when the Lord wants them to bloom. Because I'm also sure that, okay, all these seeds were being planted through my ministry life or through the ministry that was being given to me. And the Lord said, not yet. Not until I need it. And it hurts sometimes, and it's painful, but it's so worth it.
And we just cannot, I feel like I cannot overstate the importance of a parent's intercession for their children.
Yes.
You mentioned with St. Monica. I feel like I will have friends ask me, I don't even know if I've mentioned this on the podcast. My brother is currently a novice with the Dominicans, so
Yes.
we love praying for vocation. We love the seminary, we love the priesthood, we love
Well, we're the
orders.
yes.
We love it. And I obviously work for the church, right? And so my sister's so devout. People will ask, like, oh my gosh, like, what did your parents do, right? And I'm sure they ask your mom, like, very active, right? And obviously there are so many things that my parents did physically, ways they showed up, teaching us prayers, had to go to mass, like all those graces were real. Number one credit, my mom praying constantly for us. Like that's what it was, right? Like her intercession, like a mother's intercession is so powerful. And clearly, I mean, your mom.
Oh, absolutely. Those prayers are for today, and it's something that like there's a soft spot, especially now for parents, where it's like seeing them struggle with the kids. At first, I didn't understand, especially when I was a teenager and I would hear other parents complain about their kids. I'm sure you've been present when one of your aunts is complaining about your cousin, or you hear your family friend complaining about their child, and you just have to stay quiet because it's just that was a culture and that's how you grew up, and it didn't make sense to me, especially because I was the kid going through it, and I was the one that's like, well, it's because you don't understand. And this is no discredit to my parents in any way, shape, or form, because even though my mom didn't understand, and even if she didn't have the language to approach me, to talk to me about it, she had prayer. And she had her faith. And that was enough to even lead me to where I am now. But it all starts with you. It all starts with your family. It starts with the nuclear family. The parents are the very first face of Christ. A lot of times, like youth minister will come in and they will be the ones that kind of just like polish it and refine it in your DRE and the people that work with you. But your parents are the first ones to teach you, okay, Christmas is coming up. What's Christmas about? And Easter is coming up. What's Easter about? And why do we celebrate St. Patrick's? All these things that, yes, the world has and we celebrate. But what does it mean to us as a Catholic family? And what does it mean to me as a Catholic man or woman / parent?
Oh, so good. Oh my gosh, I love this. So, all of this is stunning. We have so many good practicals, but also things for parents to meditate on. I would love to switch to kind of my favorite. Can I say favorite? I don't know. I love all of it. I love all our questions. I'm always just so intrigued by the answers in a rapid fire round. Kind of our this or that, just a few fun questions. But we'll start off with morning or evening mass.
Okay, this one's tough. I want to say morning mass. I do love a good 8 a.m., 9 a.m. daily mass if I got enough rest. And also for like a Sunday mass, I was always, my family was at 10:45. That's what my church had. So I loved that when it was a good time. As a young adult, that has changed a little bit more with my schedule. And again, I'm not a parent. I have zero responsibility to my name, really, except for my job. So evening masses have just become a little bit more norm. But I do love being able to start my day off with mass. Truthfully, noon mass is my favorite.
Love that answer. I also love it. It's like it's like the best little way to like almost like reset your day.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
Exactly. And you can do a lot before, you can do a lot after still, whether it's a weekday or a weekend. So I do think 11 a.m., 12 is my favorite.
Beautiful.
So.
Beautiful. I also grew up with 11 a.m. mass.
There you go.
And it was like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then when you have to like go earlier and always you're like,
Yes.
crazy. What is your favorite coffee shop right now in Brooklyn or Queens? And then what is your order there?
Okay, so Sophia knows this, but we did an ins and outs dinner, and one of the outs was more coffee outside. We're trying to do more coffee at home, I will say, did I go to a coffee shop this morning? I did, so I do have to do this. So strike that off the record. But it's called Amano. I think that's how you say it. It's on Dean Street, right by Chelsea Piers, in between a play studio. And it's attached to like this little shop that's like cards and like little trinkets. Like right now they have like the little ceramic hearts that look like the heart candies that say like "Be my Valentine" or "I love you" or things like that. And I got their pistachio latte. I've been on a pistachio latte kick with almond milk.
Delicious. Hot or iced?
Hot. It's been a little cold. And hot coffee has been the warmth to my hands. So
That would be a very walkable spot from the Co-Cathedral.
it would be.
So what saint friend are you turning to right now for intercession in your ministry? Who's walking with you in your ministry?
Ooh, okay. So it's been a couple. I think St. Pierre has been a big one. I love that I can say St. Pierre Giorgio Frassati. He is actually, through when I was having my reversion, he was one of the saints that I found. He was a blessed at the time, and I read A Man of Beatitudes, which is what St. John Paul II used to call him, and needless to say, I have a spiritual crush on him. I think he's just what a 24-year-old man is supposed to be. Like, he wanted to give his life. He was friendly. He tried not to deceive his parents, even though he didn't agree with what they believed in, and he stood up for what he believed in or what was right, to the point where now he's a saint. So just his courage and the way that he did ministry without even really being trained to do ministry is really beautiful and really inspiring. On top of Saint Jose Sanchez de Tria, he is a Mexican saint. He is a martyr, and that died during the Cristala War, which was a war that happened in Mexico, where the Mexican government tried to abolish Catholicism within the country. And like all good Catholics, we said, no, that is not the truth. And they fought back. And St. Jose Sanchez de Tria was a 14-year-old kid that gave up his life. He loved God. He would tell his mom, there's no easier way to get heaven than now. By what we are doing, we're fighting for our faith. We're actually trying to show that this is true. And he sacrificed himself for his commander, actually, which was really beautiful. And that was even knew his place. Where even though I love what I do and I know that this is really beautiful work, I am just a pencil in God's hand. He is the one doing everything else. It's like, okay, at the end of it all, like, I want to have the courage that he did to fight until my very last breath and give it all for the people that deserve it. So those are my two saints that I have, especially on my little desk chair. So
I love hearing about our guest saints that they are just close to. Like, it is always inspiring, and it is so cool to see them. Like, I have no other way to describe it than, like, I can see their intercession, like, in your mind as we're talking about them. It's so beautiful.
They're very good friends.
So. What is your go-to worship song right now, or go-to religious song?
Ooh, as of right now, it's been Dwell by, it's SDU Worship, if I recall correctly. I found it because one of my friends makes playlists, and she makes them a theme of kind of like what she's going through prayer and all that. And I found this one, and it's all about dwelling with God and just like being in it, where as I was going through this transition phase of, okay, I'm no longer a missionary, I'm still in ministry, I'm in Brooklyn and Queens, but I'm not in Queens, I'm not at Queens College. Like, okay, all of this transition. And throughout it all, I just still wanted to dwell in his arms, where it's like, I have nowhere else to go. And even at first, it was very much like, I'm tired, and I want to be held, and I just want my father. To now, where it feels like it's transitioned a little bit more, where it's like, at the end of a day, whether it was good or it was bad, I just like, I feel like I can just dwell in your arms and just like be here and be held, and it's good and it's beautiful. And yeah, that song has been, it's been my go-to for a little bit.
I'm gonna need the link.
We'll do.
I'm gonna need the link. And one book or spiritual writer who's inspired you lately?
So there's one that I've always liked. I would say he's more spiritual. He is a poet. It's Khalil Gibran, and he specifically wrote this book called The Prophet, where it's this prophet that shows up to the island and people ask him questions on different things. AKA, it's Jesus preaching. And they ask him different things of, can you speak to us on friendship, on justice, on crime and punishment, on love? And it's just you're able to relate it a lot to your spiritual life. And I think that there's a poem for everybody in there. And even just the way that he writes is really beautiful. He has a couple of other books where he, just breaks it down to a way that, especially if you're transcendental as beauty, that your heart is able to maybe have those words again, or that language to say what it is going on internally, and maybe even for the first time have those words. So like my favorite poem by him is Joy and Sorrow. And it's all about how you can't have one without the other. The same reason why you're crying is the same reason why you're laughing. The same, there's one where it's like the same pot that burned in the same cup that burned in the potter's oven is the same cup that you get to drink the wine from. And the same lute that you're playing is the wood that was carved. So it's just really beautiful to like be able to have the words and even just the imagery to see that. So I would say him, as well as Lucero Manzanares. He is coming up, and he again also able to break it down a little bit more. Life of Christ just was able to give me a little bit more of an appreciation to those little details where God is very, very detail oriented, and it's one of my favorite aspects that I've gotten to learn about him in my faith life, and seeing where he places those details and seeing how Blessed Fulton she breaks it down has been really helpful. So I would say those two are some go-tos of mine.
And I'm gonna need the links. Okay, amazing. So, Lucero, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I want to make sure that you have a chance to plug all or any of the young adult events that are coming up that parents or teens that are listening can attend, and then we'll also link them in our show notes. Are there any special events coming up that people should be aware of?
Yes. So you guys can also look at our Instagram. It's BQ Youth and Young Adults. We post most of our events there. Our website is currently under construction, so please be aware of that. But that's where we post. So feel free to check them out there.
Incredible. We'll put those all in the show notes. Thank you so much again for being
Thank you.